I forgot to tell him I wasn't on birth control. He didn't ask, and I didn't mention it at that moment. His eyes sparkled with excitement, and the world around us faded away. For a brief second, a voice in my head urged me to speak up, but I ignored it, thinking, what's the worst that could happen? Kofi was so absorbed in the moment, and I was too. I pushed aside the one important thing he needed to know. At that time, it felt like a small detail, something that could wait. Kofi didn't ask, and I didn't bring it up. Looking back, I realized how significant that silence was. What seemed like a minor detail turned into something much bigger, something we both had to confront. Deep down, I wasn't surprised when it all unraveled. I had sensed the possibility, even if I tried to ignore it. When the results of that night finally came to light, I knew it would hit Kofi hard. For me, it felt like waiting for a storm. I always knew it was coming, just not exactly when. It began on a Sunday morning, a bright, sunny day that felt like any other. The church bells rang out, and people filled the streets in their Sunday best. I got up early, excited for church. I loved Sundays because they felt like fresh starts. Little did I know, this Sunday would change my life forever. As I got dressed, my phone buzzed on the table. I smiled when I saw Kofi's name. Good morning. Are we still meeting after church? He texted. Kofi always knew how to brighten my day. I imagined his warm smile as I typed back, yes, of course, adding a smiley face. Kofi and I had been seeing each other for a few months. We had clicked from the moment we met at a friend's gathering. He was charming and funny, making me laugh even on my worst days. When he smiled, the world seemed to pause. After the service, I rushed to our special spot by the river, a peaceful place shaded by trees, perfect for our private conversations. As I approached, I spotted Kofi leaning against a tree, his smile making my heart race. He hugged me tightly. You look amazing, he said, his voice filled with admiration. I felt my cheeks flush. Thank you. You look good too. He always did. We sat under a large mango tree, the sounds of birds chirping and children playing filling the air. Kofi talked about his week, making me laugh with his stories. Being with him felt effortless, like breathing, and I couldn't imagine a better way to spend my afternoon. As the sun began to set, Kofi and I decided to head to his hut. The walk felt comfortable, with the cool breeze brushing against us. When we reached his hut, he opened the door with a playful smile. Welcome to my humble home, he teased. I laughed as I stepped inside, the familiar scent of his cologne wrapping around me like a warm blanket. He played some soft music, and we settled on the mat. As we talked and laughed, the mood shifted. His hand brushed against mine, and I felt that spark again. The same spark I always felt when he was near. Before I knew it, the moment escalated. His touch grew softer, and we became lost in our emotions. Everything felt intense, almost magical. But then a thought crept in. I wasn't on birth control. The realization jolted me, but it was too late to speak up. I convinced myself it would be fine. Deep down, I knew this couldn't be ignored forever. Days passed in a fog. I tried to act normal, but the thought lingered like a shadow. It'll be fine. It's probably nothing, I told myself, repeating it like a mantra. But I knew better. There was a possibility, no matter how small, that everything wasn't fine. A few weeks later, something felt off. I was always tired and had strange cravings. The feeling in my stomach wouldn't go away. I brushed it off at first. Maybe it was stress. But as the days passed, the feeling only grew stronger. One morning, after another restless night, I decided I needed answers. I stopped by the market and bought a pregnancy test. The walk home felt surreal. When I got to my hut, I went straight to the bathroom, holding the box tightly. Standing there, I felt a wave of emotions, fear, hope, and denial. My hands trembled as I opened the box and followed the instructions. Minutes felt like hours as I waited. Finally, the timer went off, and I looked at the test. 2 lines. My heart sank. The confirmation I had dreaded was here. Though a part of me had suspected it all along, I stared at those 2 lines, my mind racing. What now? How would I tell Kofi? How would this change everything? I didn't know how to feel. Fear, shock, or even acceptance. All I knew was that my life had shifted in a way I wasn't ready for. I sat on the bathroom floor, holding the test. I knew I couldn't keep this from Kofi. We met at the river, and I could feel my hands shaking as I held the test in my pocket. "Is everything okay?" he asked, noticing my nervousness. "There's something I need to tell you," I said, my voice barely a whisper. I took a deep breath and pulled out the test. "I'm pregnant." Kofi's face turned pale. "How?" he asked, shocked. "I wasn't on birth control," I admitted. "And you didn't ask?" He ran his hand through his hair, letting out a deep sigh. "I can't believe this." "I'm sorry," I said, tears streaming down my face. For a moment, silence hung between us. I looked down at my hands, unsure of what to say. Slowly, Kofi reached out and took my hand. "We'll figure this out," he said softly. His words were simple but carried weight. But even as I squeezed his hand, worry knotted in my chest. I knew this wouldn't be easy. We were still young, with dreams we hadn't chased. But as I looked at Kofi, I felt a glimmer of hope. We didn't have all the answers, but for now, we had each other. Maybe that was enough to take the first step forward. As the months went by, everything began to change. Kofi stood by my side, attending doctor's appointments and helping me prepare for the baby. His effort meant the world to me, but I could see the weight of it pressing down on him. One evening, as we sat on the mat in my hut, Kofi finally spoke up. "I'm scared," he admitted. "I don't know if I'm ready for this." Hearing him made my heart ache. I squeezed his hand. "I'm scared too, but we're in this together." The months passed quickly. The closer we got to the baby's arrival, the more real everything felt. Then the day finally came. Labor was painful and exhausting, but when the nurse placed our baby in my arms, it felt like the world stopped. She was tiny with delicate fingers. As I held her, all my fears faded away, replaced by love and awe. Kofi stood beside me, tears in his eyes. "She's perfect," he said. "She is," I replied, smiling down at her. In that moment, everything felt right. We didn't have all the answers, but as we looked at our daughter, I knew we had everything we needed to start this new chapter. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Our baby brought us closer and taught us the true meaning of love and responsibility. Sometimes life doesn't go as planned, but those unexpected moments shape us and make us stronger. Even though it all started with a mistake, I wouldn't change.